Hi, this is Rob O'Byrne from Logistics Bureau, and with me today I've got one of our warehousing specialists, Mal Walker. Mal was telling me you've spent 35 years designing warehouses and improving operations, so I guess we've come to the right guy to talk about warehousing. Now, the question that we're going to address today is technology, and I guess I've been around warehouses for quite a few decades, and I've seen all sizes and shapes and different sorts of technologies being used. Some are very high tech, installations of 10 or 20 million dollars in terms of the equipment going into the warehouse, and some are really basic. So without being overly simplistic, maybe you could step us through, Mal, some of the decisions that you make around the levels of technology, depending on the client's need. Because lots of people come along and they just want all the whistles and bells, and sometimes they don't need them, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's true. And when you talk about technology, I might just define what that is, Rob, if I may. So in terms of this discussion, there's different levels of automation that people might apply to it.
Automation is probably a better term.
Yeah.
So we've come to the right guy.
Okay, that's right. So there's different levels of automation that you can apply to a warehouse design. And I will stress at this point that automation is not a panacea for all the ills of warehouse operations. In fact, there are many companies now that are pulling back from automation.
Why?
If they put a simple warehouse layout into their own facility, it's easy to change. If they put a very complex automated system in, it's far less easier to change in the future.
Now that makes sense, and we've had a few clients over the years who wanted to go to a highly automated solution. But when you looked at their business plans and how their business had changed over the years, for exactly that reason, we've told them not to, because they acquire businesses very quickly, very different product ranges, which might need to be handled in a different way. So now that makes a lot of sense to get the flexibility.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, so, some of the things there that we look at is, in terms of automation, is what volumes are they putting through their facility? And as you said at the outset, if somebody has seen a nice solution at a trade show, it might be fantastic to think about that solution in their own facility, but it may be the completely wrong solution for them.
I'll tell you a story, and if you're watching, you know who you are. This was many years ago with a client, and we were one of our other specialists was designing the solution, and we said, that's fine, but we want something a bit more high tech. You don't need it, it's kind of wasted money. He said, no, the industry we're in, we've got to look good. So their clients were, coming around the facility and they wanted to look good. So I'm not sure that's a reason to spend those extra millions, but never mind.
Well, it happens, and we're happy to oblige if somebody wants that.
No, we would not.
Okay.
We would not convince a client to overcapitalise a facility, I don't think.
That's true, but I guess the important thing there is that we look at the economics of a very simple solution versus an automated one, and the pros and cons attached to each, because that may come out with an answer of something in between. And we have seen organisations, they may not have any technology, no automation whatsoever, but they might just do one or two things to make their operation a bit more agile. And that can make quite a large difference without over-investing in automation.
And in fact, I've seen a lot of the facilities that you've designed over the years, and they're an interesting blend sometimes of a hybrid. So you haven't gone all out for automation, but where it was needed, it's done, and then others are a bit lower tech, but much more flexible. So that's good. So let's come really back to basics. And what sort of things do you look at to justify the investment in automation? Where are the trade-offs?
Well, labour is the big thing. So if you've got a very large labour force, then automation can bring about some quite substantial savings. In some cases, up to 50-60% savings in labour. For smaller operations, it won't be as much, but nonetheless, there would still be some savings available.
Would that be using things like, in picking operations, A-frames and those sorts of things?
Oh, yes, it could be A-frames. It might be conveyor systems and, route order picking systems, automatic storage and retrieval systems.
Labour is obviously a biggie.
Yeah, labour is a huge one. So the other one is space, savings in space. So with some of the automated systems that you have, automatic storage and retrieval systems, goods to person systems, they can confine the space of storage to basically a postage stamp size. So that does make a big difference in terms of a company's costs. And I've seen one of our clients had a very small plot of land, and we actually ended up putting an automatic storage and retrieval system into their facility. That system wasn't justified on throughput, but it was justified on the land size. That's correct.
And on another video, we talked about picking the right land size and warehouse size. So that's an interesting example of where it's a compromise.
Indeed, yes.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
One last question, Mel. I suppose it's an obvious one, but those sorts of trade-offs with labour, with footprint, trying to reduce the footprint, reduce the labour cost, that's obviously going to vary by geography. So I know for clients here in Australia, where we're looking at locating warehouses for them in different states, in sort of metro areas and then more regional areas, one of the things we factor in is labour cost, because it does vary. If you look from country to country, you're going to have significantly different cost drivers, aren't you? So you have to bear that in mind as well. So, a highly automated solution, say, being used here in Sydney, might not be the right solution to be used in KL, Hanoi, wherever.
That's correct. And the labour cost there is much lower than ours in Australia. But they do have land constraints there.
Yes, okay.
And so you still do see quite a level of automation in some of the Asian countries.
And also forget that you've recently designed a lot of warehouses in Malaysia and Vietnam as well.
That's correct, but certainly the economics are different, and even the aisle sizes and the pallets are different. So you do have to take those differences into account when you're starting to design.
Conceptually, we can think of it in the same way, but obviously the cost drivers and the operational drivers are going to be very different depending on the geography.
That's correct.
We could talk about this for hours.
Oh, absolutely. We can keep going.
Maybe we will, and maybe we'll put together a webinar or a seminar on this. But if you're watching this and thinking, I'd like to get into that in a lot more detail, we should. We'll put details.
Love to.
Okay. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.